Hello, this is Andrew Connell. I'm a SharePoint developer and instructor, and in this visual how-to I want to demonstrate how you can add code behind files to master pages and page layouts that are used inside of a Office SharePoint Server 2007 web content management publishing site. What you will see here is I've created a Visual Studio project to kind of get things going a little bit. The only thing that this project has done to it is I've gone through and created the stuff that I would normally create to create a feature in a WSP file that would provision a master page and a page layout into a publishing site. So, for example, I created a C# class library project. It's a standard C# class library project. I've added references to Microsoft.SharePoint, Microsoft.SharePoint.Publishing, and System.Web. I've also gone in and added some stuff in this deployment files directory that's going to allow me to easily create a Windows SharePoint Services solution package, what I'm going to use to deploy the solution. This targets file in here is used by MS Build. I have a little technique where I configure the project in Visual Studio to call MS Build and after the project has been built to automatically package up the entire project into a WSP file automatically every time I compile the project. The process of doing this, of using MS Build to create these automated WSPs, is documented inside of another visual how-to. I've also gone in and signed this project to generate a strong name, and then finally I've gone in and created a feature. Now my feature is going to provision a master page and a page layout. So if we take a look at the feature XML file, there's nothing fancy in here. I just have an ID, a title, it's scoped at the site level, and it's visible. I have these two element manifest files that will provision the two pages, the master page and the page layout. I then have these element file nodes here. It's going to be a little bit easier because by registering the files in the feature, I don't have to manually deploy them or list them inside of the manifest file. They just SharePoint will see the feature definition and say these files belong with the feature, and so we'll send it with them. The next thing I want to look at is the master page XML file. This is the one that's going to provision the master page. What it contains is a module, which is also known as a file set, and it's got a few attributes on it, and these attributes are going to apply to all of the different files that this module provisions, even though it's just provisioning a single one. He's going to provision all the files inside of this file set into the master page gallery, and that's the URL of the master page gallery. It's then going to go in and look for the files that it's going to provision inside the local page templates folder that's inside the feature. And as you saw from the feature, this is my feature, publishing sites with code behind, and then I have a subfolder inside of it called page templates. I'm also telling SharePoint to only provision this file inside of the root web, or the top level site in my site collection. The reason for this is because we only have a single master page gallery in our solution, and that's at the root of the site collection. I'm then going in and going to provision the file. The first one, the URL, is telling SharePoint that the template that I want to provision is called minimalmastertemplate.master. That's going to be found on the file system inside my feature. I'm going to provision it into the master page gallery as minimal.master, and then finally it's going to be ghostable in library, meaning that it's going to add an instance of it inside the master page gallery, but that instance is just going to be an uncustomized instance pointing down to the file system. And then finally I'm going to set the content type and the title. Provisioning a page layout is essentially the exact same thing with one exception, and that is this publishing associated content type. This field on the master page gallery is what is associating this page layout with a particular content type. The value is a delimited string, being a semicolon and a pound sign, that's going to surround the values. And there's two values. The name of the content type, and I'm just using the article page content type that is created when we create a new publishing portal, and then the ID of the content type. So now with all of this created, the next thing I want to do is I want to take a look at the minimal master template.master here, and what's so special about him? Really nothing. He's just a master page that contains just the core content placeholders that we need, and then he's got a special ASPX control. Now I could set the value of this ASPX control in one of two ways. I could do it through inline script using a script equals run at tag, so I could do something like this. Script equals run at server. I could do something like this and put it inside of this tag. The problem is this is considered inline script. Inline script will run just fine as long as the page is uncustomized, but the second somebody opens up this master page in SharePoint Designer and makes a tweak to it, the page will now become customized. Then the safe mode parser will not allow anybody to go through and to create, will not allow this page to run. So we don't want this. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of it. Instead, we want to try and do this inside of a code behind. Now, traditionally, when we do code behinds inside of an ASP.NET site, we can usually right-click on the file in the Designer or inside the Solution Explorer and say View Code, and it'll build the code file and then wire the two up together. Unfortunately, we can't really do that in SharePoint development. So instead, we have to do this stuff manually. So what I've done here is I've created this class file called minimalmastertemplate.master.cs. This is just kind of mimicking what Visual Studio usually does for us. Inside this file, there's really nothing special in here. It's just a standard class. What I need to do is create it as a code behind file for the master page. And to do that, I need to inherit from the master page object, which we'll find in the system.web.ui namespace. Now I need to create a field, a protected field, that'll be used to get a reference to my label. So I'm going to just grab the name of my label here, make sure I use the same name so that .NET can do the auto wire up. I'll say protected label is equal to the current time label, and then I'm going to just set the time by overriding the onload event. Okay. Now that that's set, we now have got the class file completely finished, and what we now need to do is we now need to create the wire the two together, wire our class file up with our master page. So to do that, what I'm going to do is go back to the master page, and I'm going to add a new attribute to the master page directive. The thing I'm going to add, let's see here, is going to be the inherits attribute. This is going to point to the 5-part name down to the class. So the 5-part name, the first part of the 5-part name is the namespace dot type name. The second part is the strong name, which is the all four parts of the strong name. The strong name is going to be the name of the assembly. And I know the assembly is the same name of the namespace, and then I set it on this project to be the same name as the project itself. So that's the name of our assembly. Then we need to put the version in, the culture, and the public key token. Now the public key token, we can get this many ways. Some people get it using Reflector, some people use it doing some other little tool. I'm going to get it the way that we probably should get it, or the proper way of doing it. And that's I'm going to use a tool called sn.exe, which comes with the .NET Framework SDK. So I'll type sn.exe-tp and then pass in the entire path to my assembly. And that will give me the public key. So I then want to go in and copy the public key and paste them in as a public key token. So now my master page is all wired together. The next thing we want to do is we want to do the same thing for our page layout. So let's go in and take a look at the page layout template. There's nothing fancy in here, just a standard page layout template that we would normally create using SharePoint Designer, except we have this ASPX label control. Now the same concepts apply here in terms of the the customized and uncustomized, where we don't want to use inline script. So we want to go through and create a code behind for this. Again, I've got a code file already created here. Now this one is not as straightforward. Many people are used to going through and just saying, I want to inherit straight from page, but that's not what we want to do here. We want to inherit from a specific class inside the publishing namespace called publishing layout page. Just had it. There we go. This is going to go through and have some internal logic that will add the master page for us on the fly. Alright, so this is the one that we should be using. We then want to go in and add basically the same code we had in our master page because I have the same control over there, the same time control. So we'll just add all that code in here. Everything looks good, we're in good shape. Now I need to go in and to wire these two together. Well, I'm basically going to do the exact same thing I did with my master page and having this inherits attribute. So I'll just go ahead and copy this to save some time. Except we want to make one little change, and that's in the type name. This one should be called our page layout template. There we go, page layout template. Everything looks good. Go ahead and compile the project. Everything compiled just fine. Now, there's one little point to mention here. We normally would go in and we would like to go use, when we deploy the assembly that's going to contain our two classes, we normally would want to deploy this into the bin directory of our site. However, this class that we just used here, this publishing layout page class, it has a requirement that it needs full trust. And so there's two ways that we can do this. We can either go through and create a custom code access security policy file that's going to grant this one full trust, or I can just go in and deploy them to the, using the, in the manifest, I can just say deploy them to the GAC. So I will save my changes and rebuild, and then let's add this to the solution store, our solution to the solution store. So stsadmin-o add solution. It's going to be equal to our WSP file. I now can go into central administration and into the operations tab, find solution management, and deploy my solution. Now I can go into my site and go activate the feature that we just deployed. The feature is going to be a site feature. Here's our publishing site pages with code behind demo, so when I activate them, I should then be able to go into the site settings and see our master page and switch our master page out. There's minimal.master. And now when I go to the home page of the site, we should now see a minimal master with no branding and it displaying the current time. Not very pretty, but you can see it's displaying the current time. As I refresh the page, you can see that the time is changing. So the next thing we want to do is see how to build a content page. Make sure our page layout is showing the code behind. So I'll say I want to create a new page. I'll then just call this a sample page. Select the article page with code behind, template, click create, and you see now it's displaying the current time as well. So in this demonstration, you've seen how to go in and create and add a code behind file for a master page and a page layout for use within a publishing site.